All right, everybody, we are back and ready to rock. It is 6:20 a.m. Eastern on Friday, December 15th, 2023. Welcome back. Going to get into the pre-market forecast here for futures in just a moment. Got an exciting announcement for the channel. We will be live streaming futures together soon during the day, during the New York session. I'm getting that all worked out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to live stream trading the major indices. So we'll look at ES, NQ, YM. We'll look at the Russell. We'll look at the Treasury space, gold, silver, crude oil, and even some Bitcoin for the Bitcoin bros. Can't wait to do that. I would trade Bitcoin today as well, except the rollover is a bit spicy there. They don't know what they want to do, the Bitcoin bros. Some of them are still in the December contract. Some of them are rolling over to the March contract. So the volume is not really clear there in Bitcoin right now. So be careful if you're day trading Bitcoin on the futures. Be aware that I expect some really chunky price action on Bitcoin today, intraday, just like we saw in NASDAQ yesterday with the expiry and the rollover. I did check all of the volume information, and it looks like we've mostly rolled over now. Expiry is today, so I expect cleaner price action today. Originally, I wasn't sure if I was going to stream today or trade today, but we're going to go ahead and do it, and I'm excited to show you guys how we trade all the markets intraday using the hourly and the 15-minute chart, just waiting for the best setups. We don't need to be glued to the NASDAQ. Yesterday, I was watching and waiting for the NASDAQ to set up a bottom, and I tried to pick a couple of bottoms, was wrong a few times, lost some money, but then made most of it back when I finally hit the turn. I was managing my risk in a good way. The worst thing you can do is when that thing starts dropping and you buy a contract and then you just don't close that out, let it go lower, buy another one, because that'll eat you up really fast on the days that it doesn't come back. I never, ever do that. I did that once a long time ago on a short in stocks, and it was very, very painful. So I never do that again. If I'm looking for a bottom like I was yesterday intraday for the NASDAQ, I'll pick a spot very carefully, and if I'm wrong, I'll cut it and take my loss and take paper cuts as I'm fishing for the bottom or the top. Yesterday was especially difficult with the NASDAQ because everything else on the scoreboard was heading straight up off of Powell's dovishness, as we've been talking about, but the NASDAQ just got into a roaring trend run to the downside, and it was very, very difficult to read. So those are the days you're going to take losses. I lost a little yesterday, $300, $390 on the challenge. That's fine. I'm happy with that. The way that I dug myself out of the hole was fantastic. So we'll see what we can do today. All right. That's the update for the channel. Let's go ahead and jump into the pre-market forecast. I'm going to start probably my trading at 7 a.m. today because there's a lot happening right now with, all these markets just look like they want to continue to levitate on the back of this Powell dovishness for now. I think we probably will see this momentum continue into year end and then into January, but we've got to be careful. There is some danger flashing on the open interest, especially for the indices. It looks like there are a lot of fresh shorts being opened up here. So just something to be aware of. Obviously, it's bullish until it's not, but once we hit record highs in the ES and the NASDAQ, which we likely will do since we already did on the Dow, we've got to be very, very careful not to get too excited and go nuts and load up, because we're going to the moon. We could hit record highs and then reverse, and that's all she wrote. We won't know that until that happens, but it's something I'm watching with the open interest. It's very important to keep an eye on that open interest. All right. We don't really care about that. We're not swing traders. We day trade here every day, but it's for those of you who get all excited and load up and let things go for a few weeks. Got to be careful. You don't want to be the guy or gal buying the top and then have it get slammed, kind of like we saw in gold and silver, right? Everybody was going nuts. Gold and silver were breaking out, and then they just got slammed. And we saw that recently with Bitcoin too. So you got to be careful with that. All right, let's go ahead and just quickly jump into the analysis. There's not a whole lot to cover. It's really just the two of us talking here and me updating you on what's going on. The analysis from yesterday is pretty much the same for today, but we will go ahead and just take a look at a couple of things I want to point out. So here you can see ES in front of us and trend run pushing higher on the daily. I expect that to continue. A lot of support. I expect the dips to continue to be bought up. But what did we learn yesterday from the NASDAQ? Just because it's a bullish day doesn't mean you can't see a pretty wicked intraday push to the downside. So if you're trying to pick a bottom intraday, just be careful. I learned a little bit there from the NASDAQ yesterday, and the price action again was just super chunky. So that was an interesting experience. I do chalk it up to rollover expiry especially end of year expiry. Things can get really wacky around that time. All right, so ES pushing higher. I expect it to be well gobbled up on dips. Look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ also pulled back, nice pocket, going to push higher most certainly. I'd be pretty darn shocked if NASDAQ fell through yesterday's low. Let's see what happens. I'm going to head into the day bullish as I trade these and record it for you guys. Dow continues to look very bullish. We're in record high territory now. We are running into a weekly extension up here. You see this pink dot. Very important trend line using Owings market analysis right up there. You've also got two of them. So 38,000, some resistance. The monthly, you're also hitting some resistance here. I don't think the party's over quite yet for the Dow or for any of these markets for that matter. I do think we're going to head higher for, a couple more weeks into the end of the year, but we got to be vigilant up here because of what we're seeing in the open interest. Very important. All right, so for the Dow, I'm going to be trading it today as well because we're going to take a new approach. We're going to follow all the major futures markets on the hourly and the 15-minute chart and just kind of flip through looking for the best trades to set up. Because yesterday, as I was sitting there watching the NASDAQ, basically just taking these paper cuts, losses, looking for a temporary intraday bottom, everything else, there were some good patterns and good setups on these other markets that were just screaming to the upside. So I think it'll be more fun to trade them all and also share that with you guys in the live futures trading room that we're going to set up on YouTube probably next week if I can get all the technical stuff worked out. So we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and look at the Russell. Also pushing higher. You got to be careful here on the Russell. I don't have time to go into it now on the yearly and the quarterly charts, but I mean the Russell it's still the weakest. Remember, it's 2,000 companies. It's some of the smaller, not small companies, but you know what I mean, smaller publicly traded companies, and they could be feeling the pinch from these higher interest rates, unlike some of these massive tech companies sitting on billions and billions in cash. The Russell 2000 companies aren't like that, and that's why it's lagging. So here on the Russell, I say all that because on the monthly, you can see we're getting up into this extension right at this double top here. The weekly is getting a big flash. We've blown through that extension, but we extended out here. I mean, you've got a lot of resistance up here. So I think the Russell is going to be bullish today. But if, for example, we have a power close today, if this happens and you get a flash, on like that red on the Russell like that, that could definitely be signifying an exhaust and right into that monthly extension, setting up for next week potentially. So be careful on the Russell up here. I do think the NASDAQ and the S&P will want to push higher to their all-time highs. The Dow will probably hang out up here at its all-time highs for a while. I don't think the Russell's going to catch up. And in fact, I think we've got an enormous amount of resistance here on the Russell. So let's keep a close eye on this. I think it looks a lot like Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin here, you see that exhaust right there on the weekly. And then everybody was all excited. And we said, no, be careful. And then boom, it got sold into like that. I think the Russell is setting up for something pretty similar here at the close of this week. And we'll see what it looks like at the end of today. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the 10-year. We'll look at the Treasury space. So equities today, bullish. I think we're going to finish the week on a high note. So we'll look to play the dips. Probably going to avoid the short side on equities again today. Although yesterday I could have shorted the NASDAQ and would have made some money. But hey, it's always easier after the fact. Going to look from the long side on the equities today. Of course, we're going to use the whole scoreboard here to let us know what's going on, which is why now we're looking at the treasuries. What do we see on treasuries? Well, we see that they continue to look very bullish. What does that mean? Rates are coming down. What does that mean? Stocks have a nice floor underneath them for right now. So that's why stocks are looking bullish. Bonds are also looking bullish. So we'll look to play the long side on bonds. Go ahead and look at the 30-year here. I think we could have a big day today for bonds. Let's look at the ultra bond also pushing up here. So any dips on stocks or bonds, but I'm going to try and be selective because we're going to watch all of them intraday. I'm going to record it for you guys so we can prepare for when we go live together. But we're going to watch all of them and just look for, the best setups across the bunch. And even though the favor is to the long side, I can't promise that I won't take a short if I don't see a great opportunity. For example, yesterday, as I was reviewing the charts last night and this morning, preparing for the upcoming day, preparing for this new structure where I want to trade all these futures markets together with you guys during the day. I was looking over the charts from yesterday, and you can see gold here on the hourly chart right here. So even though gold was bullish yesterday, as was silver, it doesn't mean you're not going to get some good counter trend opportunities. So for example, here on gold at 9 a.m., this is why I'm going to start watching all these markets, because while I was just waiting for the NASDAQ, there were some amazing trades here on gold and some of the other markets. So that's what we're going to try and start capitalizing on together. And I think by pulling it back to the hourly and the 15-minute chart, we'll be able to follow more markets. I'd love to have them all on volume-based charts, but they'll be closing at different times, and it's too much of a hassle to follow everything on volume-based charts. So we'll just use the hourly, the 15-minute, but we'll expand to a wider range of markets. All right, so for gold here, what you see how you have this beautiful support pocket pattern here sucking up. That was I don't want to say easy, but it was a pretty good looking long there on gold at the 9 a.m. hourly close. If you just waited until 9:30 at the stock market open here, the 15-minute chart confirmed it, and bang, you're off to the races, a quick $10 in gold. And then here, this was the point I wanted to get to. Look at this beautiful flash pattern. You're into the extension right at 2060. Just wait for that 15-minute to confirm right there. Boom, short. So if I see something like that, even on a day where everything's bullish, I mean, you can make a lot of money there. But we will favor the long side. I'm just saying that if I see a really good short set up, these markets go up and down. So day trading, we can play both sides. We just have to be very careful if things are screaming to the upside. You just got to be a bit more selective on the short. So keep that in mind. And on this current challenge, we're about $1,000 left to the goal. And, who knows? We may either blow out today, we'll see, or we may, hit the goal in the first trade or two and then stop. I don't know. We'll see how the day goes. We'll give it our best and see how it works. The challenges are hard because they've got these trailing drawdowns that really affect, for me, how I manage a position. I don't really let the position run in the evaluation the same way that I would in my own live account, because in the evaluation, let's say, especially adding contracts, let's say you're up, $500 on a trade, you add a contract, it quickly goes your direction, you're up 800, and then the thing pulls back and stops you out at break even. That's what I would do on my live account. I just, add, and as I'm adding, move up to break even. I don't want it too tight, but obviously if I'm in a quote unquote, not a free trade, but if it's running my way and I'm adding and I've got no risk left on the trade, that's fantastic. But on the challenges, a lot of these companies, this is why I'm testing different companies right now, is, they penalize you. If it comes back to your break even, they treat it as if you had an $800 win on that trade. So that's why trading the challenges, especially the companies with these trailing stops, it's much more difficult. And then there are other companies where maybe they don't have the trailing stop, but then they only allow you to lose half your account in the day. I mean, you have so little money to work with in the first place that you need the full account, risk balance to be able to get yourself out of some holes sometimes, especially when you're trading these big futures contracts, right? $2,000, $3,000 is not a lot of money. So anyways, fun to test all these different challenges. That's why I'm starting my own company. It's going to be similar, but different still. It's going to be a lot more fun, I think. So I'm excited about that. Share that with you guys. Probably that company will be launched after the new year, February-ish. We'll see. For now, we're just going to have some fun with the trading together. But that's why I'm testing these challenge companies, because I want to see, how their execution is and how all these, how these different rules work, so I can familiarize what they're doing versus what we're going to do. So that's the information there. All right, let's go ahead now and get back to the treasuries. As we said, bullish. Here is the 30-year. This is the hourly. We want to go to the daily. Yeah, so daily looks bullish here. Weekly looks like it wants to keep pushing. Monthly looks like it wants to keep pushing. I mean, it looks like treasuries are, the 30-year here looks like it's going to go, we could go 5 more handles by the end of the month. You could definitely tag that extension up there at 128. So bonds look very, very bullish for now, along with stocks. So let's keep an eye on that. Go ahead and look at the Ultra bond quickly. It's basically the same. We might even already be, yeah. So the Ultra bonds, I could see us heading up there, 138 by month's end. We'll see. We're going to monitor this. The daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly, they influence, how we're trading this day by day, week by week, because it's a very logical process using Owens market analysis. Right now, the monthly, the weekly, and the daily across stocks and bonds are firing to the upside. And, what's one of Newton's laws? Everything, stays in motion. As long as it's in motion, the odds are it's going to stay in motion until it's not. And then we're going to switch our bias to the short side. So just keep that in mind. All right, so bonds are a buy today. Stocks are a buy today. Let's look at gold and silver. Nice recovery here for gold. You know, I'm not so sure it's completely out of the woods yet. We'll see. Still some time to tell, but I expect some chop. We'll see. We'll see what happens today with gold. It's a shame TradeStation's data here on the daily chart is a little screwy, but I'm sure gold will probably be bullish with everything else. Right now, we're up 0.5% already on gold and silver. Let me just go and see if I can bring up GLD ETF. See if TradeStation will bless us with some good data on GLD. Yeah, a bit of a push up here. You've got a lot of resistance here on up into 190 on GLD. So gold, I think you got to be a little more careful today. I think the no-brainer for today, definitely bonds, stocks, waiting for pullbacks. It looks like a no-brainer. Gold, you got to be careful. Look at this big up move on GLD. That's we may want to pull back a little. So gold, I'm going to be more careful with today because of this right here. Let's look at silver. Get rid of GLD. Yeah, silver the same. It looks like it's obviously strong right now, but got to be careful at these elevated levels. Let's look at crude. Crude's still a bit of a mixed bag. It's trying to round the bend here. I expect continued choppiness on crude. I'm going to exercise caution. So the main, even though we're going to watch crude today, we're going to watch gold and silver in the live trading room. We're going to look at equities and bonds. I'm really going to be, favorable towards equities and especially bonds. I think bonds are the one. I think they're the easiest money, safest bet today. Famous last words, but hey, you got to pick something, right? So I think bonds will be my primary focus, but we're going to be watching all the markets together. Let's finish off with the euro and the pound. You're running into some resistance here. So I wouldn't be long the euro right here today. Maybe due for a little bit of a pullback. And if we do get a stronger dollar today, which right now we got a little bit of a stronger dollar, we'll see if that ends up holding. But if we do keep a little bit of pressure on the euro with dollar strength, that could weigh on gold and silver as I'm potentially seeing. So keep that in mind. We get British pound. Yeah, it looks like you're probably going to at least, the pound looks strong. So dollar looks like it'll probably continue to get weak overall. Even though the euro is giving back a little bit right now, the pound, the CAD, the AUD, the yen, they all look pretty strong against the dollar for now. So I think it's going to be a risk-on day. It looks risk-on. So just use that to your advantage. And let's finish off with Bitcoin for the Bitcoin bros. You guys wonder why I talk a lot about the Bitcoin bros. I'm just making a joke. I'm trying to make this fun. I like Bitcoin. I think it's fun to follow. And I just think the Bitcoin bro memes are really funny. So that's why I constantly mention the Bitcoin bros. You got to crack yourself up somehow doing this job, especially when you're in Sweden and it's freezing and dark 6 months of the year, and you've got an artificial sun lamp that tries to give you some level of artificial vitamin D and happiness. All right, so let's finish off with Bitcoin. You see quite range bound here after the pump and the dump, but we are rebounding off of the dump. As we said yesterday, we called the dump, and we actually did call the rebound here. Why? It didn't take a genius. It was, after Powell, dovish, risk on, it was boom. Everything was going to be well supported. Gold was catching back up to Bitcoin. We thought Bitcoin would have a good floor underneath it at about 42,000. It did. But still in a tight range right now. It's nothing I would get too excited about with Bitcoin today. So I'm not going to be trading it. Again, I think this range is like this. When you look at the rollover between the December and the March contract on the Bitcoin futures, it's very messy. It seems like for whatever reason, they're half the volume is in the December contract still. And I'm pretty sure that one expires today too. And half the volume is in the March contract. It's like everybody else has already migrated over with the indices and FX to March. So it's just strange. Bitcoin bros, you got to migrate to the March contract. I know a lot of you may be not familiar with futures. You're sitting on like billions of dollars. You got to migrate over to the March contract. It's H. That's the futures letter for the March contract. Okay. Take care, everybody. Good luck today. I will record the trading, and I'm excited to launch the live day trading room. Hopefully next week. We'll see. We'll pray for surf. Take care. Bye-bye. Good luck.